Steve Dotto here. Thanks for joining us today. It's around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just planning out my day. And it strikes me that one of the most massive time wasters that we face, probably second only to email, is meetings. Booking meetings, going to meetings, wasting our time in meetings, having very frustrating meetings where goals and objectives are not discussed. They get off track, they get off. Meetings can be a major frustration in business. I think you will agree. And I'm looking on my schedule today, and I have a meeting coming up in a couple of hours with a company called LessMeeting. This is a meeting that could change my life, and it may change yours as well. LessMeeting is software. It's primarily a Outlook plugin, but you can use it just in things like Google Mail, Google Calendar as well. And it allows us to send out meeting agendas and then track the meetings while we're having the meeting, gives us control, allows a collaborative environment while you're in the meeting, and then it informs everybody of the outcomes of your meeting when you're done. It's worth a look, don't you think? So here's a typical, you get a meeting request and you accept it. And it basically doesn't contain too much information. When I received this meeting request from LessMeeting, in here was an agenda. Now this will appear in Outlook, it appears in Google Calendar, it appears in all of your different calendar apps. It is an agenda of what we're going to discuss in the meeting and what our goals and objectives are. That alone is a pretty good step in the right direction. But look at this. When I go in, and I've signed up for LessMeeting account, when I go into the LessMeeting software, now in Outlook this will appear right within Outlook. I don't have Outlook because I'm running on a Mac, but so I can use the web interface. Here I see my dashboard, which has all of my meetings attached. If I go in and take a look at the meeting which they've booked with me today, look at this interface. It has so much. It's so rich as far as content surrounding the meeting. It has everything we need to turn a regular old meeting into a uber productive meeting. Take a look. First of all, it's got all of the notes. Now, this is dynamic. In other words, as I'm talking to the other folks at the other end on the meeting, and we're going to be doing this meeting on Skype. I'll be recording it in a few moments or a little while today, so you'll be able to see part of the meeting, so you'll get a feel for how it flows. But this is dynamic. We can actually take notes. Each of us can be taking notes while the meeting is going on. And do you know how when you take notes in a meeting and then you talk to somebody afterwards and what they took as far as notes and what you took were completely different? Here you can see what people are saying as they're saying it, so you can all concur and you can come to some sort of resolution that what you're saying is indeed what you were trying to communicate. So we have this ability to create all of these notes, to go through all of the agenda items. I can see here a list of attendees. We can upload files to it, and then when it's all said and done, it'll send out a summary of the meeting to everybody that attended. It's kind of magic stuff as far as that's concerned. Let me show you, before we actually look at the meeting itself, let me show you how you go about actually booking a meeting. Now, you can do this within Outlook if you have the Outlook plugin for LessMeeting, but I'm going to navigate back to they call it the dashboard here. So this is the web interface. If you live in Google Mail or Gmail and in Google Calendar world, this is where you'll do most of your work from as far as LessMeeting is concerned. So we go to schedule a meeting, and up comes a nice dialog boxes that allow us to create a subject for the meeting, the location, if it's in a conference room, if it's via Skype, if it's on phone, you can tag it. You can send it from managed accounts. You can sync LessMeeting to multiple email accounts. So if you want to use it for personal and say you belong to a charity or something like that and you want to schedule a meeting for them, but you also use it for corporate work, you can send it from the different accounts that way. You put in the attendee email addresses, and then you begin to type in your agenda items. And you type in, and here is where we start to see some of the strength, is the fact that you can adjust the amount of time that you're going to give to each and every item within it. And based on the start time, it then gives you the expected end time of the meeting as well. So it gives you a little bit of control and allows you to hold the different meeting attendees to task while you're in the meeting to say, look, we've only got 2 more minutes for this, let's get to a resolution. And then you can so you can add items, sub-items, and then you can add a message, and then you send it as an invite. What does it look like when it comes in as an invite? Well, here it is in my email. Here's the invitation to this, and it comes in just like any other meeting invite comes in to into my email software. I've got the invitation, I add it to my calendar, and I've already showed it to you what it looks like in the calendar, so you can see the agenda outline there. But this is how it arrives, so we can send it right into the calendar. And in Outlook, it has a typical Outlook interface for adding it to your calendar, accepting it. You go in, you accept the meeting, everybody knows, and then it comes up, and it comes up in your alerts, etc. What's going to happen next is I'm going to take a little break in my day, get on with my day, and at 11:30 my time, I'm going to come back and we are going to actually have the meeting with the Less Meeting folks, and you'll be able to see how Less Meeting software works in the meeting environment itself. All right, I am so excited. We are actually in our meeting now, and I have online with me Jeff Steinke. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Good. You're the brains behind Less Meeting.
Yes, you betcha.
Okay, so we're going to join. So you've invited me into the meeting. So this is a typical process. And so when we start the meeting, do I just go into the into my dashboard, into the meeting itself,
Yeah,
and then we're going to be in a shared screen?
you got you. So from the dashboard, you'll see our meeting. You go ahead and
Yep.
jump into it. The very first thing to do is you'll notice down on the bottom there's that big green Start Meeting button.
Oh, I see it. Yes.
And so you're going to go ahead and click that, and what that's going to do is that's just going to kick off the timer for the meeting. And what
Oh.
we've done beforehand is that we've already gone ahead and set our plan for the meeting. We figured out, okay, what is it we're going to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
How much time are we going to allocate to the meeting? So that way, as this meeting comes along, we're going to have this agenda that we created beforehand right up here for everybody to see, and we're going to have this timing that goes along that's going to help us keep us on time and on track. So at the end of the day, we're just focusing on what we need to do instead of getting off topic and all of a sudden, losing half of our day in meetings.
So let me be really clear, because I think this is one of the most important aspects of this software, is we are now in a shared environment. It's almost like we're in a shared Google Doc or something like that, because if you make any notes and make any changes within the agenda, I will see them reflected here on my screen, will I not?
Absolutely, and that's Google Docs is the perfect analogy, or Google Wave, if you remember that. I just went ahead and entered a note on my end, and in a second here, you'll see that pop up under the first sub bullet in that agenda section.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
So it takes it a second for it to sync across.
Yep.
Yep.
But what we're doing is we're just typing notes back and forth all in the same environment on that same page. So it allows us to work together with our notes. There's no longer any confusion about, hey, what was, who do we assign that action item to, or when do we say it's going to be done? No matter where we're meeting, whether we're in the same room or whether we're halfway across the country from each other, it lets us easily make sure we're in agreement. And there we go. I see the collaborative environment note you just sent
But
across.
I don't see your note up yet. Is there a reason for that, or is it just sometimes take a few seconds for it to sync?
No, that's not good. Let me refresh my page real quick.
Now, does it identify who made the notes?
It doesn't. And that's something that we've heard before that might be nice, but right now
They're group
it's
notes.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So we go through, we're each making notes, and you've got some items there. You've got key point, decision, and action item. How are those treated differently?
So key points are really just the bulk of the meeting, all the notes you're taking in, and keep the point to emphasize there is key. So you're not sitting here a good meeting note taker. You're not taking down every single thing that was said in the meeting, because if you're doing that, you're not able to contribute. You're not able to pay attention. So what
Mm-hmm.
you want to do is you just want to jot down. What are the one or two key things to get noted for each agenda item? Get those down, and if you need to fill in the details later, great. Decisions. Whenever your team comes to an agreement on something, let's say you're a project manager and you decide, hey, we're not going to add any more scope to this project, go ahead and mark that decision. And then when you need to refer back to it, let's say you get in a disagreement with one of your clients, now you have this in writing that you can refer back to at a later point. And
Okay.
action items, which are probably the most important part of Less Meeting from our user standpoint, is all about task management, assigning out what needs to get done to who and by when, and tracking them to make sure those things are getting done.
So I just clicked on the you bet, here's a note, and the reason it didn't refresh on my side is I refreshed my browser and it came up. It might be a Chrome
Awesome.
issue or something. Um,
Yep.
but so now it's given it at Dottotech, so it's got my name on it, and so it's become an action item, and I can add some notes to it. But where does this end up? Like, am I then sent this as a task?
Yeah, so there's going to be three ways you're going to see this. First of all, when we send out the meeting summary, and we'll get to this, you'll see this action item clearly called out in the meeting notes. Second of all, you'll see toward the top of the page, there's this action items tab. If you ever want, you can just go there, click that tab, and it's going to show you all the action items that you have, not only the ones that are assigned to you, but also the ones that other people owe you. So you have one central place to manage all of your tasks across all of your meetings.
Okay, got it. Oh,
And,
there it
and then
is.
the other last point is if you have Google Tasks, Outlook Task, any of those task tools, we integrate with those as well, so you can sync your tasks there as well.
Okay, so now we've taken a whole series of notes, and then underneath the agenda items are questions and next steps. So is this kind of following just good meeting protocol? Is once you've gone through the agenda, you say what are our questions and what are our next steps on the things that we talked about?
Absolutely, it's something I always like to end the meeting with is a quick summary. Okay, what are the key points we need to reemphasize? Are we clear on what the action items are, and are there any open questions? Otherwise, let's break and let's get out of the conference room.
Okay, so that's there. And so once you've finished it all, you've got this series of action items, you've got the questions and next steps, and they all follow the same protocol. Um, on the right hand side, we have a few fields that I don't quite know what they are: meeting history, and then also parking lot. What are those two?
Yeah, those are good questions. Meeting history. Let's say you have the same status meeting with the same team every day. What this
Ah,
lets you do is go ahead and link those meetings together so it's sharing information across. So it's really easy to refer back to the notes you took in the last meeting.
okay, so that's for recurring meetings. What's the parking lot?
Parking lot, let's say we get off topic. Let's say, Steve, you want to talk about the happy hour we're going to schedule this Friday. That doesn't belong in this meeting, but we don't want to forget this, so we're going to add it to the parking lot so that way we can make sure to cover that at a later point.
Okay, and then finally, this is really useful: documents and images.
Absolutely. Let's say you're in a brainstorming meeting. You have a whiteboard that has some really great diagrams you guys have whiteboarded out. Take a quick picture, upload this to the meeting. Now everybody's going to get that screenshot with those meeting notes, so we all know, have that quick reference of what it is we whiteboarded.
Now, if somebody wants to record a meeting and record the audio of a meeting, say they're doing it on Skype like we are now, is there any functionality for that, or do we use a third-party app for that?
You'd need to use a third-party app, but what you could do is once you have that file, then go ahead and upload it, and now you have that audio recording attached to this meeting.
Okay, so let's end our meeting now, so I can see what the result is of the mailer that goes out afterwards.
Okay.
So can I just click on end meeting? Can anybody
You
do that?
betcha.
Okay,
Yep.
so I click on end meeting and close out the meeting and send minutes. I wanted to wrap things up before we finish this demo of Less Meeting by showing you the email that the meeting minutes that Less Meeting automatically creates at the end of our meeting and sends to all of the different attendees. So here are the meeting notes from the meeting that Jeff and I had that you just witnessed most of. Um, you know, if we can gain a little more efficiency in our meetings, we can be a lot more productive. Our communication clarity improves dramatically, and basically we can get an awful lot more done. A tool like Less Meeting is a great step towards meeting discipline and making your meetings that much more productive. I hope that the time spent with us today you have found productive.